looking now like next Wednesday will be the final formal vote to end the impeachment effort against Donald J. Trump. Unfortunately for the GOP, in my humble opinion, their effort to cover up evidence is going to haunt them and cost them dearly. This is a shameful exercise in the ability of one party, along pretty much party lines with the exception of Senator Collins and Senator Romney. They all voted no about hearing witnesses. Now we find out today, Bolton's book, another bomb is dropped from that, which says Donald Trump's lead defense attorney, Pat Cipollone, was in the room when Donald Trump ordered John Bolton to take steps to cut off the aid, withhold the aid, freeze the aid to Ukraine in order to exercise his will over the Ukrainians to gain political advantage. This is crazy. Some people were wondering what would happen if it ended up 50-50. What would Chief Justice Roberts do if he had to break a tie? And here's an interesting little soundbite, 50 seconds. Let's find out from Chief Justice Roberts exactly what he would have done. Here we go. This is Chuck Schumer. Oops, I'm going to have to back it up. Hold on a sec. There we go. Now let me back this up. Schumer is going to ask the Chief Justice if he remembers a piece of history.
Is aware that in the impeachment trial of President Johnson, Chief Justice Chase, as presiding officer, cast tie-breaking votes on both March 31st and April 2nd, 1868.
I am, Mr. Leader. The one concerned a motion to adjourn, the other concerned a motion to close deliberations. I do not regard those isolated episodes 150 years ago as sufficient to support a general authority to break ties. If the members of this body, elected by the people and accountable to them, divide equally on a motion, the normal rule is that the motion fails. I think it would be inappropriate for me, an unelected official from a different branch of government, to assert the power to change that result so that the motion would succeed.
And there you go. That's how you get out of it. You slide away. With us this first hour to talk about this whole process, tawdry process, actually graced with some sheer brilliance on the part of Congressman Schiff. A lot of people hate him. Of course, they were taught to hate him in the beginning. But there have been some very interesting moments of high statesmanship and fact presented during this proceeding, which I have not been able to watch in any detail, but I've read a lot about it and heard about it. So, Donald, welcome back to the program. Your thoughts on all of this?
Hey,
Welcome.
Jeff. Hey. Well, you know, you're a better man than me, Jeff, because I haven't been able to watch any of this. I find it, you know, I watched C-SPAN years ago when they first started televising Congress, and
It was kind of interesting back then.
yeah. After you watch it a while, you come to realize, boy, our representation is as bad as we thought it was. When you see these people in action, you know, when they wax, you know, talk about 30 minutes about their local football team or something and wanting to put them, I mean, it's unbelievable to watch the kind of stuff they do. But, and certainly back then there were, you know, people like Jim Traficant, who was always entertaining to watch, who they railroaded out of Congress. Ron Paul was
Jim was really a fine American patriot. He was a good man.
He absolutely was, and he was my kind of Democrat. He was a Democrat. But in this case, you know, I just find it. I think this is a play with no protagonist. There's no good guy here, and I think that's you're looking at. It's only battling levels of darkness because, you know, Donald Trump obviously is very difficult to root for, and the only thing he's ever had going for him since we realized he wasn't going to do what he said and to keep his promises are the quality of his enemies. And he has some great enemies. You know, he has all the right enemies. So
yeah,
I
good
think
point. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you get to the point where, I mean, you get this guy, John Bolton, who is just a raving lunatic. I mean, this guy, in my book, Bullyocracy, that's coming out next month, aside from politics, I have a whole section devoted to him because he terrorized a woman in another country years ago. This guy is a garden variety bully, in addition to being a warmonger. But the people who want to get rid of Trump, no matter what, are grasping at anything, and so now they're saying, okay, we can get a revelation from Bolton's book. I don't know. I think it goes down to the people that want Trump impeached don't care at all about what he's being impeached for. I mean, they're basically, they want to impeach him for his stupid.
That's a fair statement. It's a fair statement.
They want to get rid of him because of his stupid tweets and his gross comments.
They don't like him as a man, as a person, as a politician. As a businessman, they don't like him. They hate him.
Yeah, this is his personality on trial, and you can't try somebody for his obnoxious personality. I mean, you can't impeach somebody because even if you take him at face value, and you and I have talked about this, I think he's a character. I think he's playing a script. But whatever his character is, it's obnoxious. He's over his.
Well, excuse me, Don, but ask the 20 women who have brought sex assault charges against him, huh? Ask them what they think of him. Right?
Yeah. So I mean, he's got a history that we knew of, and obviously, naming somebody like Dershowitz, who also was associated with Epstein, as was one of his.
But Dershowitz never took his underpants all the way off. That was a direct quote.
That's right.
He promised. Right. He told me. I believe him. I mean, he's a great guy.
That's the same school as Bill Clinton not inhaling, but just to show you the farce nature of it, just look at Donald Trump going after his defense team. He used the same criteria that he's used for all of his cabinet members. Very curious criteria, because we know all of his cabinet members, almost all of them were never Trumpers. None of them supported his rhetoric. Like I said, I'd like to have a poll done and see if any of them even voted for him. But for his counsels,
that's a good line.
He goes and he gets a guy like Dershowitz, who's a lifelong Democrat, and has publicly said he's going to support Joe Biden. Very curious choice as your attorney. I mean, why didn't he go after somebody like Todd McMurtry, who I've had on my radio show and is one of the attorneys for Nicholas Sandmann, the Kentucky, somebody like that who supports Trump or generally supports him? You would expect something like that, but no, he gets him, and of course Ken Starr, who's got his own background in covering up Bill Clinton's real crimes and later apologizing to him, and I'm certain was a never Trumper as well. So again, I don't see anybody to root for here. I mean, this guy Schiff, he seems to have the same kind of, and I don't make fun of anybody's appearance, but Schiff has the same kind of thing going on that Greta Thunberg does, the activists, where they both have this thing looking where almost like they're actors playing some kind of demons or something with the looks they get in the eyes.
Well, they don't, you know what it is? They don't look right. They look like there's something wrong there. All right?
Well, picture somebody like Schiff. You're going into politics. You're supposed to have, people are very superficial. So,
it's all telegenicity.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're telegenic, you win.
Exactly, but picture Schiff going out for his first campaign. Just with whatever he's got with his eyes alone, giving him that look, why is somebody drawn to him? Regardless of what he's saying. I mean, he's saying typical, social justice warrior stuff, but so I don't get that. I don't understand. Of course, I say that about most of these politicians. I mean, how has Nancy Pelosi voted back in, or Lindsey Graham, or any of these people? I mean, I don't understand how you think that people would be rushing to the polls to try to vote for whoever's running against them, but they can't stop themselves from reelecting him, apparently. But I just think the thing is and again, as you know, I've mentioned that just with them going back to Ronald Reagan, you had Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush both, who could have been impeached for Iran-Contra. I mean, withholding the hostages, letting them stay there longer. That
was just horrible. Those poor people suffered for what? I mean, for a political ploy.
Right. So and we know pretty much October Surprise and Iran-Contra, both very sordid affairs. They could have been impeached over that. Bill Clinton could have been impeached over any number of things. Now, he was impeached for the least serious thing he ever did, And I think that's why it happened. But certainly something like Waco, where they had the mass murder of American citizens, including a bunch of children, no one was in fact, most of the American people supported it. We crossed a huge moral line in the sand there. I mean, that should be an impeachable offense. George W. Bush with the weapons of mass destruction lie alone, not to mention the 9/11 shenanigans, but certainly the weapons of mass destruction lying us into a war, impeachable offense. And then Barack Obama, who, drone assassinates an American citizen, Anwar al-Hawabi, who was never even charged with a crime, assassinates and brags about it, and then kills his 16-year-old son the next month. So if assassinating an American citizen who was not even charged with a crime isn't an impeachable offense, I don't know what is. So this phone call that Trump made, regardless, which on the surface to me looks like he's being typical Trump and blustering and, maybe threatening in his kind of New York con man way that he does. But you're talking about, even if he's guilty as charged, he's threatening to withhold foreign aid, which we should be cutting off foreign aid. It's a good thing. Unless they investigate the corruption of the Bidens. And I've written extensively for the American Free Press. There's far more evidence of Hunter Biden, especially, of his corruption, and the icing on the cake here is that the exact thing they're trying to impeach him over. There's a letter that were put out, I think, by 3 Democratic senators last year, or maybe the year before, where they wrote, it's documented, it's not a nebulous phone call, that says, hey, we're going to withhold foreign aid if you don't do what we want to the Ukraine. And then, of course, you have Joe Biden, who has on videotape bragging about getting the Ukrainian prosecutor fired. So the Democrats appear, if Trump did this, to have done the exact same thing. So I think it's, and I understand that the people that have Trump derangement syndrome or just want to get rid of him, they don't care about any of that. And the other side, they're the people that support Trump don't, they're not going to vote to impeach him no matter what. But people like me, like John Barber, my friend, and your friend of mine, is famous for saying that he's agnostic on Trump, and that's why I am too. I don't get to. I'm not on either side of the divide of his personality, but I think I think it's his personality that's being impeached, and I think you're going to see the same thing play out in the election. The election is going to be all about Trump's personality. It's are there more people that have Trump derangement syndrome that just want him gone no matter what, or are there people that have the Trump, what I call the Trump syndrome? Yeah,
I think that you're going to see a backlash from this perceived GOP, in fact, cover-up of evidence that should have been put on the table. A lot of people should have been. They didn't get it done in the House. Okay, it should have been made available. The party line vote killed it. A lot of evidence should have been presented. Probably tonight, Trump is really happy.
Well, he's already tweeted, I think, that's the level we're at. He's gloating like the 12-year-old.
You know what he's doing already? You know what he's already doing? You already do. Here, this is from Sputnik. U.S. President Donald Trump taunted Democrats at a major rally in Iowa Thursday night, that's last night, on the eve of the key events in the Senate impeachment trial. This is last night. Talk about brazen. U.S. President Trump addressed a rally at Des Moines, mentioning he would love to run against former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for president again. Now, he has had Hillary on the brain for a long time. We've proven that with reverse speech. But now he rolled it out last night. He said, wouldn't we like to run against her? Who's tougher? Her, crazy Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, Biden, Buttigieg? Who would be the closest? I don't know. Maybe we take another crack at crazy Hillary, okay? And then he said she was so easy. Well, simple for a man to say that when he was beaten apparently in the popular vote by 3 million, and she lost in 3 swing states in 5 total counties by less than 40,000 votes total. By what I'm told.
Wasn't this the rematch everybody wanted to see? America's demanding this, aren't they, Jeff? Come on.
I've been telling people this for 3 years now, Don, that this would be the political rematch of the century. So, seriously, I started doing it within 2 weeks, 3 weeks at the most after the election. She's going to run again.
This time it's personal. Yeah.
You got it. This is the Thriller in Manila. All right, remember?
Wow. And, and I remember last time, again, before Trump's personality kicked in and really started dividing the country, I remember people at the time saying, well, in the country of, 350 million or whatever it is, this is what it comes down to. These are the two best we could get. Everybody recognized how horrible the candidates were. But apparently that's the best we can come up with again. I mean, I don't know what that says about what Americans demand or whatever, but we talked earlier this week, just about on a surface level, you have so many better candidates in the Democrat that are not being promoted. Like I said, you have Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang and Buttigieg, who I cannot stand Buttigieg, but all three of those are much slicker, much more articulate, can present a much better picture of a candidate than Bernie Sanders or
I
certainly
couldn't agree more. No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
but they're not in the running now. Unfortunately, Tulsi fired a lawsuit off at Hillary for that insinuation, an indirect insinuation that she was a Russian asset. Yeah. Come on, Tulsi, cheap PR stunts like that. That lawsuit's not going to get you anything.
When she did it, though, again, this shows the power of the 1%. Hillary Clinton's representative just refused to accept the pay. I've never heard. Can you do that? Where you just don't accept it when it's served on you? And
unless it's served on you personally, I guess if you have interference and you can shoo them away, you can do it. You've got to be tagged with it personally.
Yeah, maybe they'll figure out a way to keep her ever out of the line. But it's I don't know. We'd all like to see, and I don't know why Tulsi Gabbard or any of these people even bother trying to sue those kind of people because again we know we have
a publicity stunt. Come on, that's all it is.
But it was a shrewd.
Hillary's smart. She didn't name her directly. It was an indirect insinuation. Didn't name her. She's as plausible deniability there. By the way, the Hillary Clinton campaign has pulled off. I don't know if you saw this or not. Another brilliant part of the stealth campaign. They have taken control of all the key positions in the Democrat convention this week.
Yes.
They already run the show. Bernie is not going to get anything but the back of a roll of toilet paper. That's it. Boom. He's not going to go anywhere.
And it'll be a battle.
It'll be a brokered deadlock convention. She'll be pulled in to come save the Democrat Party, to pull it back from the edge of the Bolshevik Zionist abyss and make it more centrist, and she'll say what needs to be said, and that'll play. Remember, only 50% of the eligible electorate voted in 2016. 50% did not vote. And the rest of that 50% that was remaining was split pretty much 25-25 between the two of them. So, yes, the rematch of the century. This is going to be, thank God, it's not going to be boring. Thank God, it's going to be a freak show, another one.
Well, it definitely will, but it's interesting. The Democrats already have a precedent for maybe going back to a brokered convention and I guess we'd have cigar-filled rooms. I don't know what they'd be filled with, vape-filled rooms or something. But when they already have these ridiculous superdelegates. If the Democratic Party were still the party I was in as a young guy, they would have done something about these superdelegates because that's the reason Hillary Clinton won the last time and why Bernie Sanders was screwed out of it because of that terrible process. And I believe that's why Trump ran as a Republican when he'd been a lifelong Democrat, because he knew it would be easier for an outsider or a perceived outsider.
He's still a Democrat.
Yeah, but he recognized that the Republicans didn't have those superdelegates because the party and the WikiLeaks emails show they don't show Russian collusion, they show DNC collusion to keep the nomination from Bernie Sanders and give it to Hillary Clinton, and that's what all these lies are about and what the murder of Seth Rich was about, and that he was all but named as the source for Julian Assange. But you try to
he's all but forgotten. By the way,
nobody
talks about
his his name. Whenever I mention it, I get a little bit of the reaction that you get when you talk about Sandy Hook, and they use these kind of emotional things. And look at Seth Rich's family, Fox News. Of all people, Sean Hannity, of all people, actually did a little bit of investigative reporting a couple years ago on the Seth Rich murder, and if you remember that, and all hell broke loose. Fox News was, they almost fired Hannity. Seth Rich's family threatened to sue them. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, wouldn't you think his family would want to know what happened to him?
Absolutely.
Very strange. It's the Gary Webb syndrome, where the family doesn't seem to or they're threatened into silence. But if we had real journalists, first of all, they wouldn't have backed off from that, and there's so much there to see that, and people especially need to know that this is where that illegitimate offspring of the Russian collusion came from. Somehow they twisted real documentation, which is in those DNC emails. I mean, there's a quote from, I believe it was the DNC CFO, where there's even a little bit of anti-Semitism even against Sanders, where they have this great quote about, they don't mention him, but they say if a candidate with, that we should stress a certain candidate's Hebrew heritage or Jewish heritage or something, especially in states like Kentucky and West Virginia. I mean, that's the corruption that was going on, that they were trying to, regardless, you don't have to like Bernie Sanders to know they were trying to screw him out of the nomination, but somehow, for Hillary Clinton, she was the beneficiary of the corruption, as she always is. Somehow they twisted that.
Hold on. I got to take a break. We'll pick it up right there in just a minute. Hold on. Taken Bio Superfood every day for several years now and want you to do the same for your sake and the health and safety of your family and loved ones. Take the banner at the top of Rense.com and prepare to learn how to save your life.
Wayne Elliott to tell you about my great experience over the past 20 years with Strauss Heart Drops, the original cholesterol buster. Strauss Heart Drops saved and changed my life, my parents, and countless family, friends, and others. Strauss Heart Drops are 100% natural, risk-free, safe with no drug contraindications, and satisfaction guaranteed. You can't go wrong, so trust the original and feel better soon. Order online at loveyourheartdrops.com or call 877-817-9829, and I promise you won't be sorry. Thank you.
Scientists in England have succeeded in stabilizing the time-honored substance in garlic that destroys harmful bacteria, viruses, molds, yeast, and fungus. This all-natural microbe killer is called Allicin C, and it's now available to you in 100% vegetarian capsules only on the New Earth page at Rense.com. This powerful broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent is harmless to friendly bacteria and has been concentrated to equal an astonishing 35 cloves of garlic in each vegetarian capsule. Think about it. The antibacterial, antiviral strength of 35 odorless cloves of garlic in just one capsule. Allicin C is so effective it even destroys superbug MRSA in test after test. Allicin C is truly an incredible advance in natural medicine, and with the threats of bacterial and viral diseases and pandemics growing, no home should be without it. Learn more and order Allicin C on the New Earth page at Rense.com. Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at Rense.com. Look for the New Earth banner at Rense.com.
We have a great story from someone who's helped themselves to heal by using the botanical known as carnivora. And we have a guest right now. Her name is Joni Nichols. This is quite a story.
Yes, it is. I was a mess. I had numerous infections. My hair was falling out all over the furniture. Mm-hmm. One of the scariest things was that my legs were swelling up out of control. It came to a head. Within 24 hours, I had gone into a coma. Mom and Dad decided to get me the carnivore's 6-week program. Within 2 weeks, Robert, the first thing I noticed was that I felt better waking up. Then I noticed that my hair wasn't all over the furniture. I'm excited. And
she credits all of it to her carnivora protocol.
This is Richard Ostro, owner for Carnivora Research International. Call 1-866-836 1-866-8735. That's 1-866-836-8735, or visit carnivora.com, carnivora.com. Call now.
Okay, back with Donald Jeffries. All right, all in all, what do you've made it clear, though, that you don't really... All right, let me rephrase this. When we look back on this process, assuming we get to next Wednesday and there haven't been more bombshells, but I think there will be. I don't think this is over yet, quite. We'll have to see. You know, they could still vote to throw him out. The vote today, remember, was just for witnesses. So this is not over, and we have Romney and Collins today breaking ranks and voting with the so-called the other side. All right? It was just Lamar Alexander and Murkowski were the two that threw it for Trump. So Trump skates. So, but I really think there's going to be more dropped on us between now and next Wednesday. I don't think it's over yet. We'll see. Thoughts?
Well, you could be right. Nothing surprises me at this point. Like I said, anything with Trump, that's why I really don't make any political predictions anymore. It's like trying to figure out, the world of, the NFL or something. I think that's rigged too. So I kind of think that, in something, ever since Trump was elected, as I said, none of us expected that to happen. It took us all by shock. Ever since then, all of this has been a surprise. I'm surprised he was impeached because they tried so long with Russiagate, and then this Ukraine thing just kind of came up so quickly.
Right.
And I got the impression that they just said, okay, this is our last chance. We got to do this. We have to get him on something. And I don't know that anything will happen other than him be acquitted Wednesday, but it does look like as if this may not just be a sole effort. They just may try impeaching him again. And it seems to be...
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
They've got so much more than they did when they started in the House to present now in terms of testimony and evidence. It wouldn't surprise me at all. No.
Yeah. Well, or if he is reelected, I think depending on what the makeup of the House is as to whether it would go to the Senate. But I think there's so many things about the 2020 election to try to figure out. And again, I'm not going to predict it, but this is Trump's personality. Whether it goes blue or red, it depends on how many people out there hate him enough to trudge to the polls and vote against him, and how many people love him enough to vote for him no matter what. And there's a lot of people, like I said, there are agnostics out here. Well, not a lot of people, but there are some, like myself, who I just look at it as a show. I mean, sometimes it's entertaining. I mean, I cry for my country, but I cry for my country because I thought that he was going to do something about some important issues, and unfortunately 4 more years have gone by now, and who knows how many numbers of illegal immigrants entered the country since then. We haven't withdrawn from
several million. It was 1.1 million in fiscal 19. I think not 18. Yeah, fiscal 2019. 1.1 million came across.
Yeah, so there's every year that goes by where we don't address it, it just makes it more impossible to ever do anything about it. And he, as I said, whatever happens, I said at the time when Trump was elected, he's our last hope. So flawed as he is, this is the guy, because everybody else on the scene, Democrats and Republicans, there's not a single person out there that is even talking about, and I include Republicans. Now, keep in mind, he's supposed to be right now the head of the Republican Party. He's not. Most Republicans don't support him. In fact, a lot of these guys, Romney, people like that, they would love to throw him out. They want to. I guess they just figure politically they can't do it, but I think that most of the Republicans in the Senate would vote to convict him if they thought they could get away with it, and it's because they never supported him, and that's what makes Trump so unique.
That's a very important point. Most of them didn't. That's right.
No, they never did, and I mean, Marco Rubio remembers, when he was calling him Little Marco and stuff. I mean, they remember this stuff, but the Trump revolution has been a one-man revolution. It doesn't even extend to his cabinet. He doesn't even have Trump people, whatever they would be, other than his daughter and son-in-law, who also don't agree with his campaign promises. They certainly never did. And
Nope.
Jared Kushner appears to be running things half the time and appears to be mainly responsible for Ziocentric administration.
What is Trump? I don't understand really what Trump does. He tweets so much. He's got a staff, I think, that probably creates a lot of those tweets. But Jerry Kushner stepped up today and let me get this quote. Kushner said, "Palestinians have never done anything right in their sad, pathetic lives." See, there's the hate. There's the hate. It's always there, but you don't see it very often. There it is.
Yeah, I saw that, and we verified that that's legitimate, because that just seems really in your face. I mean, that's brazen for somebody at his level to make a comment like that, and I think that's indicative of the way he basically is running our foreign policy, and it's at the behest of Israel. This is the most.
He's not just running. He's running our Middle East foreign policy. He was involved with the China trade talks. Trump, and this went unbeknownst to most people. About 8 weeks ago now, Trump appointed Jerry to run the entire border program, the whole border crisis. He named Jerry number one. Go get it. So
he's serious about controlling the border. It's sad. It really is. But so there you go. So that's his son-in-law and his daughter, and presumably they would be the closest to him. Now his sons, Donald Jr. and Eric, they appear to be more on board with him, but of course they're not in the White House. All they do is tweet too. They do what he does. They just get in Twitter battles, and that's so. It appears to be an administration on, by social media, but nothing. But there's nobody else. Who else? I mean, Pence. If you're a Republican, which I'm not, but if you're a Republican, I mean, Mike Pence is horrific. He doesn't agree with any of Trump's rhetoric. He's for open borders, and if anything, he would be more pro-Israel than Trump. And I know that's hard to believe the way Trump has been, but he's a very evangelical. He appears to be the type that wants to bring Armageddon.
He's a scary guy. He really is. He's out there.
But so who is there? I mean, there is. I mean, Rand Paul might be the closest hope. Rand Paul's son,
it's almost like good people, smart people, have learned to stay out of politics.
Yeah, they have, and you can see with there were. Really, up until 10 years ago, I could always count on, there was at least, a handful of congressmen and never very many senators, but there was always a handful of congressmen that were pretty good. And, but, Dennis Kucinich, I guess, was maybe the last senator that I really liked. And
he started off good, and then something happened, and he kind of flamed out toward the end.
Yeah,
I think he got talked to.
Yeah, he didn't have a chance when he ran for president. So there is nobody. So if Trump fails, which he really has failed, so even if he gets reelected, it's going to be more of the same, or who knows, maybe he'll show his real true colors and really bring the police state on, out front and center in his second administration. But because we know he likes that, and he may be brazen about it. But unless he somehow starts doing some of the things that he promised, which I don't see that happening, there's no hope, because
no, it's not going to happen. We're going to begin to hear, Don, and you already know this, echoes of the 18-month campaign, 2015, 2016, where he conned and lied and conned and lied. We're going to hear the same old rhetoric again. You watch. It'll start rolling out as soon as this impeachment thing is wrapped up. Here's a CNN quote on Kushner, by the way. I'm not sure if what I read is a direct quote. You never know anymore on the Internet. You just don't know. You've got to take things very carefully and understand that sources can corrupt things easily. Jared Kushner, senior advisor to the president, says the White House's Middle East plan is this is Trump's deal of the century, is a, quote, great deal, end quote. And if Palestinians reject it, quote, they're going to screw up another opportunity like they've screwed up every other opportunity that they've ever had in their existence. Now, that's from CNN, all right? That's CNN.
We've offered them so much,
Right. Oh, yeah. Don't we?
We keep taking their land, but they won't listen to us. I don't know why. We keep bulldozing, and it's
funniest thing.
It's laughable, but just picture especially what he said about they've never done anything right or whatever. I mean, that quote is almost unbelievable. Just picture again, on the other hand, if some politician said that about Jews. I mean, what would happen to his career? His career would be over. He'd be lucky if he don't go to prison.
He might be dead in a week. Oh,
yeah. But it's awful. It's really, again, I don't have any Palestinian in me, but it doesn't matter who they are. But what is happening over there is wrong. But again, I don't want to intervene on the side of the Palestinians, because I think we should just withdraw. We shouldn't be in that area of the world. And I feel sorry for the Palestinians. But the reason what is happening to them is because we've armed it to the extent we have.
Don, if you look back through Middle East history, what's happening to the Palestinians has happened to so many other peoples over the course of Middle East times and travails. Entire groups of people, whether they be religious or politically motivated, whatever, they come and they go. They're wiped out, they're removed, they're pushed, they're displaced. This is just the way the Middle East works. It's not a surprise, not to me anyway.
And that's why we can't. We have no business being involved there, because we don't.
Zero.
We can't hope to.
Zero.
Can't hope to understand these ethnic disputes that are centuries old in some cases, but we continue to do it. And meanwhile, we have a collapsing infrastructure, holes in the roof here. We're being rained on inside our own houses. Our kids are starving. You pick your analogy, and we're not doing anything about that. Charity begins at home. We need to fix our own country, our own house in order. The idea that we can go in all these countries around the world, lecture them, bomb them into submission to love our freedom, when we are cracking down against freedom at home. We're constructing a police state. We're eviscerating what's left of the First Amendment, and yet we're still bragging about freedom. So I don't know what what are the statistics show. I think these international groups that rank them. What is America ranks woefully down the list now in terms of freedom as compared to other countries. And we according to the way, as loudly as we sing USA, USA, should we be anything but number one in that category? But we're nowhere near that. But what we are number one in is boasting and bragging about how great we are. And that's why Trump is really a perfect president for America, because that's what he does. He boasts constantly, and that's what he epitomizes the ugly American. And right now, America epitomizes that old expression of the ugly American, because we have to look ugly to most of the world, because we've interfered everywhere, and we don't practice what we preach, because we have more prisoners than any country's ever had in the history of the world. And we have a situation where half the country has nothing, so we have nothing to brag about. The only thing we can brag about is our system of government, which our leaders don't adhere to. They don't obey the Constitution. They don't even believe in the Bill of Rights. And yet they continue. I heard Chucky Schumer, of all people, talking about the Constitution. It's amazing that these people don't burst into flames when they mention the Constitution, because they have I don't know what they agree to in the Constitution, but it doesn't show in anything that they've ever voted for, or because they certainly don't believe in the Bill of Rights. They certainly don't believe in the very finely delineated powers that were granted to the federal government in the Constitution. They can't believe in that, and yet they still talk about the Constitution. And I don't even, again, people just sit there and listen to it, but for someone that has studied history as I have and written about it, it just makes you cringe to see these people talk about Constitution. And of course they're doing that now because it's the impeachment process, but I'm impressed, I guess, that Schumer even knew about anything that happened during the impeachment of Andrew Johnson. So I give him credit. His staff, I guess, got him up to snuff on that, so he was able to come up with a few tidbits, but I doubt he knew that before. But we just have We have a joke of as you know, I talk about the two precepts we fought the revolution for, and one was the consent of the governed. Clearly, we lost that in the Civil War because the South no longer consented, and Abraham Lincoln crushed that and said this is no longer a voluntary union. So we lost the consent of the governed there. And the other is no taxation without representation. If you watch these jokers and think that these people are representing you, you're sadly mistaken. We are taxed, so we have taxation, but we do not have representation. And anybody that can watch any of these people, just try calling them on the phone or emailing them or something. You can't get a hold of them, let alone get them to represent their constituents. If that was the case, the banker bailout would have never happened in 2008 because 96% or whatever it was of the people were against it in every single poll, and yet our leaders, our so-called representatives, pushed it through. Jeff? Hello?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm just listening and making notes. That's writing too long. Then you have people like Grim Greta Thunberg, right? A completely media-created icon that young people are supposed to look up to. When we start looking up to children as our idols and our guides, we're in real trouble. Everything she's done since day one has been videotaped, filmed, or otherwise visually recorded. This woman she's an industry. And what happened yesterday? She announced that she was going to trademark her name to protect, she said, the efforts at global sanity. She doesn't want people misuse. So it's Grim Greta Inc. soon. She's trademarking her name. This is the way it's done now. It's not just her either. It's
and of course
all
you get
showbiz.
Yeah, and in her case, it is literal showbiz. She comes from a family of prominent entertainers. I don't know how famous they would be compared to American entertainers, but so she certainly has.
Dad writes a lot of her scripts.
Yeah, it's clearly scripted. But you know, there's still good people on the left, Jeff. One of them is Cindy Sheehan, the international peace activist, and I
know Cindy.
Yeah, she takes the left to task all the time, and she talked about Greta Thunberg, and I started talking about this. Is that neither Greta nor any other environmental activist ever talks about the damage inflicted on the environment by the American military in all their occupations. They never mention it.
And every base the American military builds, by the way, they leave behind, when and if they leave behind, it's a polluted, radioactive cesspool of deadly toxins in the groundwater. They're horrible polluters, and no one will talk about that.
The message is what I talked about in Survival of the Richest. The message is they're not talking to the big corporations. They're not talking to about the Gulf oil spill. Nobody even talks about that anymore. Look at the damage that was done there, and the cleanup was even worse. No one mentions. You don't hear any environmentalists crying about that. No, they're talking to you and me. They're talking to Mr. and Mrs. Average America. They want you to give up your hot showers. They want you to stop driving an SUV. You don't really need that air conditioning. Who are you?
Look what happened in California, Don. The PG&E shut off the power for 10 days to millions of people. This happened last summer. People have forgotten about it already. Don't forget that. That could happen anytime, anywhere, and probably will.
Yeah, and it's coming. It's a feature of third world, and it's because they're preaching the sacrifice. They're asking people to sacrifice who already don't have anything or have very little, living paycheck to paycheck. They're not talking to you already have these deluded celebrities that are worth many millions of dollars flying in on their private jets and lecturing you about your carbon footprint. I mean, nothing could be more ludicrous. They do this all the time, and they don't talk about. If you want to know what I believe is the main reason for our strange and extreme weather patterns that we have around the world, it's geoengineering. We know that the weather is being manipulated and has been manipulated. Look at HAARP that existed in Alaska. Jesse Ventura tried to get into it just to look at it on his conspiracy show, and they wouldn't let him in. What are they hiding? Clearly, I mean,
geoengineering started in 1946 or 7.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of programs about the beginnings of it. Long time. Here's a little clip for those of you who don't think that Jerry talks like that. I haven't reviewed the whole clip, but here's a quickie. Jerry Kushner talking about those Palestinians.
As it exists in 2020, you have 5 million Palestinians who are really trapped because of bad leadership. So what we've done is we've created an opportunity for their leadership to...
Bad leadership? I think not, Jerry.
Seize or not, if they screw up this opportunity, which again they have a perfect track record of missing opportunities, if they screw this up, I think that they will have a very hard time looking the international community in the face, saying they're victims, saying they have rights. This is a great deal for them. If they come to the table and negotiate, I think they can get something excellent.
So, Jeff.
Wow, there you go. What a scam. Wow.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Well, the amazing thing is that the left. The one good thing about today's left, and there's not many good things about it, is that they have really come around on Israel, and including lots of American Jews. Or no, because it used to be back in the 80s,
True.
and the 90s.
Good point.
The right, Pat Buchanan, people like that, on the right were critical of Israel, but the left was in lockstep, is supporting him, and especially American Jews. Now you have even Bernie Sanders, is accused sometimes of being anti-Israel. So it's strange, but, and I don't know if it's because the Palestinians are perceived as non-white, maybe so, but however you look at it, and it's just a politically correct thing, what's happening there is wrong. They've taken over land. Look what happened with Rachel Corrie, the young American student that was bulldozed to death.
Kushner's saying that it's because of their leadership. Oh, man, the elephant in the living room, he just looks right past it.
Yeah, it's amazing, but it's that's probably been, of all the disappointing things, because again, Trump largely hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything right or wrong. That's why I said I don't know how you
for saying that, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
And for you Trump fans out there, he hasn't. It's just he hasn't. He's promised. He's broken vow after vow after promise after promise. That's what he's done.
But one area he has been active is in trying to keep his promises to Israel, and this is where it comes out. So unfortunately,
he gives them everything they ask for, and so probably 5 times more that we don't even know about.
Yeah, so he's being very proactive there, and like I said, that's why a lot of people say it should be MAGA instead of MAGA, because he is making Israel. Aren't they naming roads for him over there? So, I don't think that's...
They named a town in Golan for him. Yeah. Another stolen piece of property, which is huge, by the way. It's not little. The Golan Heights sounds like a couple miles. No. Look at a map. Golan, a huge area.
Yeah, and we I don't think this is why Trump was elected. I don't think he was elected to try to crush the Palestinians into submission and to give Israel everything they want, but that's what he's done. Now he doesn't. He throws his. He still throws his supporters at the rallies, little breadcrumbs and little sound bites, but it's been a show, and it's the American political sideshow now is more and more idiocracy.
25% is his voter margin of victory. 25% is what he got. 50% voted. Half of those voted for Trump. Half about for more than half for Hillary. His base, the question I have, reflecting back on what you said a moment, are they getting tired of Trump?
Yeah.
Are a lot of them dropping away? They're tired of the obvious lies, deceit, narcissism, this buffoonery that the guy is constantly exercising. Are they getting tired of that? Now the radical, how much of his base is left? Enough to fill large venues, we know that. But really, aren't a lot of those Trump fans beginning to get tired of it?
I think plenty are, but I think again, the reason he maintains any support is because of the quality of his enemies. The people that in public that hate they all know there is a deep state, there is a swamp. He's not doing anything about it, but clearly it seems to be all pretend and all bread and circuses, but they're all aligned against him. And because of that, it's very hard to root for. If you want to get rid of Trump, okay, do you want to replace him with one of the, who are you going to replace him with? And I think that's what people will probably, that support him, will just cling to the hope that, okay, no matter how bad Trump is, maybe there's a chance,
4-part Hulu high-end production documentary on Hillary Clinton debuts in March. and April, and then May, June, and then there, right away you got July, and boom, right into the convention that she controls already. So watch for this documentary. It's going to get a lot of play in the press, not just exposure, but a lot of play in the media. This is part of this stealth campaign she's been running. It's a big part of it. All right, and we have to run. Do enjoy your weekend, and we'll keep you informed. Take care. Talk soon.